is Robyn Shepherd and I'm an attorney, and I practice as such at Schoeman Law Inc. based in Cape Town, South Africa, where we proudly serve the legal needs of the entrepreneur. Today I will be taking you through the eviction process. An eviction occurs when a person is legally forced to leave the property that he or she is staying on. The Constitution provides that no person's property may be taken away from them, and that no person may be evicted from their home without a court order. This means that an owner or a person in charge of the property, known as a landlord, must apply before the court before evicting a person, known as the tenant, from his or her property. The procedure is provided for in the Prevention of the Illegal Eviction from and Unlawful Occupation of the Property Act, known as the PI Act. The specific procedure must be used when a landlord wants to evict a person using his or her property for housing purposes. For example, staying in his or her house, flat, room, or similar structure. A person may be evicted from a property if considered to be an unlawful occupier. An unlawful occupier is a person who stays on a property without the consent of the landlord, stays on a property without having any right to do so, stays on the property to be an occupier in terms of any other law. When a landlord cancels or withdraws his or her consent previously given to an occupier to stay on his or her property, the occupier will then be considered to be unlawfully occupying the property. It is important for a landlord to use a procedure provided for in the PI Act, rather than taking the law into his or her own hands. For example, cutting the electricity and water supply to the property, or intimidating the unlawful occupier in the hope that they will vacate the property. The process is as follows. The landlord must cancel or withdraw any right or consent given to the occupier before commencing with the eviction. The landlord must notify the occupier of such cancellation or withdrawal in writing and give the occupier reasonable time to vacate the property. If the occupier remains on the property despite due notice given to him or her, the landlord may approach the court to start the eviction procedure, either in the High Court or in the Magistrates' Court situated in the area of the occupied property. The court will provide the landlord with the date and time that it will hear the eviction application. Written notice of the eviction hearing must be personally served on the unlawful occupier of the property, as well as the municipality situated in the area of the occupied property. This notice must be served by the sheriff at least 14 days before the eviction hearing in the court. This notice must indicate the date and time of the eviction hearing and the circumstances surrounding the eviction, and the unlawful occupier's right to defend him or herself. Both the landlord and the unlawful occupier must be present at court on the day of the eviction hearing. If the unlawful occupier fails to be present at the eviction hearing, the court may postpone the hearing or proceed with it in their absence. This may lead to the granting of an eviction order. The court will consider whether the occupier is in fact an unlawful occupier and whether the landlord has followed the procedure followed in terms of the PI Act. If an unlawful occupier has been in occupation of the property for less than 6 months, the court will also consider all of the relevant circumstances, including the rights of the elderly, children, disabled persons, and households headed by women, and whether it will be just and equitable to grant an eviction order. If the unlawful occupier has been in occupation of the property for more than 6 months, the court will also consider the following: all the relevant circumstances, which include the right of the elderly, children, disabled persons, and households headed by women, whether alternative accommodation has been made available or can reasonably be made available by a municipality, organ of state, or an owner of the property. for the relocation of the unlawful occupier, and whether it will be just and equitable to grant an eviction order. After considering all of the above, and if the unlawful occupier has no valid defense, an eviction order may be granted by the court and will specify the date on which the unlawful occupier must vacate the property and the date on which the sheriff must evict the unlawful occupier if they have not vacated the property on the date determined by the court. That wraps up the eviction process. Thank you for joining me. Please like, comment, share in the box below. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and our newsletter. For more information, please go to www.unlawful.co.za.